Welcome back to NTheRealestWay podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, I want to talk about the importance of your environment and how it affects the lifestyle, the environment that you have with yourself and with other people. Before, I made a podcast episode on creating your environment and how you need certain things, ingredients to even start making the environment that you know that you can have. And I've made this one podcast intro 20 times, probably more than 20 times. I've made this intro so many times, from me not knowing what to say, difficulties with the podcast equipment, from people making noise outside, the helicopters. There were so many things, and I was asking God, use me, make this podcast episode, make this podcast something that I know that it can be. Something real, something honest, something authentic. I asked God to use me, and throughout this whole process of being disappointed and aggravated, I learned a lesson that this right here is temporary. The feelings that I'm having right now, I need to accept them as my own, understand why I'm feeling this way, and move forward. I was going to talk about relationships with other people and how that can affect your environment. I already said all those things, and I can still talk about it, but the main point of this podcast episode now is to talk about how if you're unhappy with the environment that you have, you need to change it. It's that simple. And I understand that everything is not constant. Everything is not automatic. You can't just turn it on and turn it off. I understand that. I'm in the same predicament. I want a certain lifestyle, but I can't get that lifestyle until certain things happen. The effects of the environment. And I had to understand that no matter how aggravated I was, no matter how unhappy I may seem in this environment, it was testimony to who I was to become. Because I will never be thankful for things that I didn't have to work for. Me personally, if everything was handed to me, I wouldn't want it. There's no thrill of it. God didn't bless you with that. I understand that you get gifts and you get, rewards and everything for just being, but I want to contribute to society and have a purpose, and I want to move with purpose. And I had to understand that when making this podcast episode, it was the current life that I was going through. I was dealing with issues. I was upset sometimes. I had, obstacles and challenges I was facing, but I had to understand that regardless of how I feel, that camera gonna turn on, that podcast equipment gonna do its audio thing, this light gonna stay on, and I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep pushing, because there's nothing else that you can do besides do the things that you know that you can do and serve God the best way that you know how to serve God, or in whatever you believe in, whatever your purpose is in life. Use that fuel, that energy, and put it into something purposeful. That's what God. I was asking God, use me, God, teach me. It's not turning on and off. Me making this podcast is not turning off. He's going to use you through this podcast. He's going to use the challenges that you're facing to show you something better, something more, something that you wasn't even aware of. I don't like my current lifestyle, and I'm going to change it. And me making this podcast is going to contribute to that change. The effects of the environment. If you're unhappy in an environment, if an environment is toxic, what do? You move, you change, you adapt, and you go somewhere else. The issue with that is some people find ways to become what the environment, the ecosystem calls invasive species. People who go to different environments and cause issues for no reason. They don't contribute, they don't help, they just cause issues. Do not be an invasive species. If you're gonna come to an environment, contribute to that environment. When I was in high school, I never understood the mindset that certain people had. I understood now that my mindset was different than a lot of people, but I didn't understand why they didn't think the way I thought. And it was something that it bothered me. It irritated me. I was always upset about it. because I couldn't understand why people didn't think the way I thought, why people didn't understand the impact of their intention and how saying you're going to do something and actually doing it is two different things. They didn't understand the impact. They didn't understand how you saying you're going to be committed to something and not being committed is an issue. But again, we were in high school. But these were things that life has taught me, that going through life has taught me. I had to understand that when creating the environment that you want, sometimes change is going to happen. I didn't know that I was going to be in the military the time that I had initially thought I was going to be, until I actually was here. Now I'm here and I'm like, okay, this is the environment that I want. I can create this. I can allow this in here. I don't want that in here. I'm creating the environment that I want. But the longer I was here, the more I realized that God had more for my purpose. And this was just a stop. This was just a stop. And then I was going to keep going. The issue with some people is when they keep going, they take all of that negativity, all of that hatred, and they keep it going to every other stop that they go to, every other environment. Now we got this cycle of unhealthy things, unhealthy tendencies. Now this person got unhealed trauma because you had unhealed trauma, because you didn't decide to take care of what you had to take care of. You see how this affects when understanding that I don't no longer want to be in this environment physically, mentally, spiritually. You have every right to want to change. You can change it. You do not have to be stuck in an environment. Who said that was the only way to live? Is to be exactly what everybody else wants you to be. I had a situation recently where I was talking to somebody. They were given an opportunity with me to change their life. But instead of doing that, they listened to what their family had to say about their life. Sometimes in families, people can stay in the same county, the same city forever. They don't leave the country. They don't even see the world. But they sitting here telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that. How are you going to sit here and tell somebody what they can't achieve in life, all the greatness that they have, because you didn't do it? And you didn't step outside of your comfort zone, and you didn't live with a purposeful life, and you didn't decide to go for the things that you know that you could achieve. You can't do that, nor will I allow people in my life that will do that to me. It's cool. You want to listen to your parents and you want to stay right where you are so that they can feel safe and they can feel comfort, then you do that. But there's no growth in comfort. You will never change. You will never become the person that you know you can be by being comfortable. If you sit down and you think, oh, I'm comfortable, I can get used to this, I'm happy, everything's, slow, there's nothing going on, and you're comfortable, then you're not changing, you're not growing. And you know what happens to things that don't grow? They die. They die and they wither away, and nobody looks in the darkness of those corners. Nobody's checking in those corners. They're not looking in the darkness. Okay? If you want to become the person that you know you can become, you being comfortable is not going to achieve that. The only way that you can even remotely obtain and associate comfortability with success is getting comfortable with being successful, being uncomfortable, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. That's the only way. The only way. So no, I'm not allowing people in my life who are affecting the environment that I'm achieving and wanting to become. But understand when I'm saying that when you're creating your environment and this environment is not what you want it to be, you can't sit here and just disregard it. This is your environment. Maintain it while you have it until it's time to move to the next place. Understand, please understand that everything that you do in your life, it contributes to creating your environment. And once you have that environment, it's yours to decide what you're going to do with it. I was sitting here like, okay, I had a podcast idea. I had the topics I wanted to talk about. I waited a day, all of that gone. No meaningful no motivation in speaking those words. Nothing came out. I'm sitting here trying to find, God, what do I need to say? I'm trying to half do it. I'm trying to put up the camera, put it all up and just start recording and just say stuff. Nobody's gonna connect to things that they don't have an emotional connection to, that's not driving them to become more motivated and more purposeful in their life. I had to sit and I'm like, what is this? What is this right now? When your environment is affected, I promise you, sitting back and asking yourself, asking God, asking whatever you believe in, saying, what is this trying to tell me right now? What is the lesson? Okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but I'm missing something. Show me what I'm missing. And after I asked that question, after I asked God to use me, I understood. From the helicopters to people talking outside my room to the podcast equipment not working correctly, it all hit me at the same time. This is the environment that I'm in. This is the environment that I created. Some things intentional, some things were not intentional. But what are we going to do in regards to that? What are we going to change? What are we going to remove from our life? What are we going to allow in our life? What are we going to do to make the environment that we have right now? The effects of the environment. Like I said previously in the podcast episodes, these people who are working on themselves, these people who are healing and growing and becoming different people that they know that they can become, they're not, those people are not being involved with people who are the opposite of that. People who are draining and who want to hurt and cause grief to other people. It's not that those people aren't knocking on their door. It's the fact that those people are opening their door, looking at them, and then closing it. Us people, not even us, people who decide to allow those people in are allowing their environment to be changed. And I don't care what nobody says. The people who you hang around, what they think, how they feel, in regards to any relationship, in any ideology, any morals, it affects you on a personal level because you are accepting that person into your environment. And if they'll do that to somebody else's environment, they will do it to yours. It may not be the same relationship. Excuse me. It may not be the same relationship. It may not be the same environment, but it is an environment. And one thing about an invasive species is they're going to come and they're going to affect a relationship. It's that simple. No, I don't want people around me. I don't care. People say all the time, Smith, you got so many friends. I don't have no friends. I don't have any friends. I don't. I've never met anybody wholeheartedly, and I'm not saying they have to be exactly like me, but the mindset, the purpose I have in life. I've never met anybody who connected to me, who wanted to motivate me and contribute to my life in the realest way. I haven't. I see people and what they can achieve, so I know I can achieve it. And when you have certain small things, like for instance, in a relationship where you never actually dealt with a healthy relationship, and now you've dealt with a healthy relationship, now you can see unhealthy relationships. Now you can see that this is a healthy relationship and this is an unhealthy relationship. I didn't know that until I actually took a step back and I realized what was going on in my life. I promise you, it is so important. It is, I cannot stress this enough. It is so important when creating the environment. You have to look at the effects of the environment and what is affecting the environment, good or bad. Every day, it's a constant thing. People say, Smith, you're so happy, you're so happy. I'm constantly working on myself. I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly removing certain things out of my life, whether it's people or anything. It's gone. I'm not allowing a second thought. I'm not saying I'm over here just cutting people off, But I'm saying I know patterns, and I know when things should just be disregarded. And it's nothing to say about these people. It's just the fact that we're on different paths. Our journeys are different. It's okay. You can walk past my environment, my little garden. You can walk past it and smell the roses, and I really like this garden, you know? It smells good. It's clean. Everything's growing healthy. There is this constant evolution and growth. I love it. And you can just keep walking. You ain't staying, but you can stroll by. Ain't nothing wrong with a little stroll. But I promise you, I'm removing them. I used to be, but I more recently was never. I'm no longer afraid of goodbyes anymore. Really, I'm still dealing with it, but more so, I've really come to terms understanding that I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with things ending. I'm okay with things ending in a way to where there was no actual physical verbal resolution. I'm okay with that. I understood that. I had to understand that sometimes you don't need that verbal resolution, that understanding between each other. Sometimes it's enough to say goodbye and just leave it. You know, I used to think about those things. I used to talk to people. I never understood when they said, "Oh, I don't want this person in my life," or "I didn't get this from this person." So to talk about the first one, I didn't get this in my life, or whatever. People would sit here and tell me, "Well, why is this person not doing this for me? Why is this person not, why didn't this person tell me sorry, or that they did this and that it hurted me? I want them to apologize to me so I can resolve it with myself." First of all, that's not how it works. You have to learn how to forgive people. They may have came in there with a whole weed eater and destroyed your entire garden. Okay, you may have not liked that. That's okay. But what you decided to do was remove them. Now, what will be the reason for you to call them back into your environment, into your garden, just for them to do the same thing? And even if they do apologize, that's not going to magically make your environment come back. Your flowers are not going to just magically go back. You're going to have to heal from it, and you're going to have to move on. It's not, you have to understand that resolution is not what you think it's going to be. And you can forgive people without them even knowing that you forgave them, because the forgiveness is not about them. It's not. It's not about them. The forgiveness is not about the other person. And then the second thing of people not understanding how allowing people in their life, well, this person, they do this and they do this, and like they're basically telling you every reason why this person is causing grief in their life, in their environment, and they're deciding not to change it. They're deciding not to remove them. Think about that. I never understood it. And then when you give them the answer that they want, it's not actually the answer that they wanted. So what I just realized just now by saying that is, those people were only looking for ways to reasons to stay. And once you didn't give them those reasons to stay, they decided on their own, "No, I'm just going to keep on allowing them. But they do this to me, they do that, and they, they're not, they're what are we talking about? Do you want a healthy environment or not? You have to, I promise you, intention. And everybody, I'm not saying I don't care about these people that are strolling past my garden and sniffing the roses and walking by. I do care. I hope they have the best life. But in terms on a personal level, I would not consider those people as friends. They're acquaintances, they're work people. I have to understand that people have different roles in my life. And everybody's role in my life specifically is not to be my friend. No matter how close we may have gotten before, it doesn't remove how I feel. And that's in the other way around. I would tell people I'm not interested in being your friend, and they would assume that I never cared for them. Those are two different things. I chose to care for you, but not allow you to be my friend. You have to choose how you want your environment to be. Of course you're unhappy. Of course you're angry and upset. Look at look who's around you. These people every day. I was in high school. I had to sit back and realize these people every day, they beefing with somebody. They got drama. They arguing, they fighting, they being negative. I would wonder why I was so angry and so agitated. Look, think, observe the environment. I consider those people my friends. I still care about those people. I had to see and I had to understand those people were affecting my environment. And once I left the environment that they were affecting and moved somewhere where it was more healthy, for some reason they thought that they could come over here and destroy everything that was beautiful and healthy over here. Invasive species. And that's where you have to put a stop to it. Hey, I care about you, but in terms on a personal level, terms of friendship, it will never be. It will never be. And there's nothing wrong with those people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying these people are bad people and like all of that. I'm saying that this is your life and you only have this life to live. So please understand that it should be full of intention and happiness and love. You shouldn't have to worry and have to question relationships that are in your life. You shouldn't have to. Those relationships should be building upon the environment that you have right now. Those people should be watering your garden. They should be trimming the dead parts of the leaves to help the entire flower, entire whatever it is to grow. You think somebody coming in and stepping on your garden and saying, well, I love you, it's supposed to work? You think that's supposed to do something, mean something? It does mean something. It means that they need to be gone. That's what it means. I can love you from a distance. I'm so glad. I didn't know. And every day, God shows me more and more how powerful and how being faithful and diligent in your craft, how it really affects and how it really contributes to your success by feeding into it. You feed into God and God's going to feed into everything that you do outside of that. Just go to the source. I think people, they lose themselves because they have no source. They have no place to pour all of their purpose in. I'm not saying it has to be God, but that is who I chose to pour my purpose into. Find a direct source to fill your purpose and use that. Use it. I'm telling you, this life is getting crazy. Sometimes I wonder, I don't even know how tomorrow's gonna go. But then I sit and I pray and I understand that whatever God has for me is for me, and it's gonna happen when it needs to happen. Excuse me. Another thing I want to say before I leave this podcast episode was I was expecting people to handle my garden more recently, to handle my garden for me, and in regards to my podcast in general, I was expecting people to nurture my podcast for me. I don't know if that makes sense, but I was telling people, not even telling people, I was upset with people when they didn't support me or they didn't do this for me, they didn't do that. I was so upset. And I had to realize that this is the garden that I chose to make. And that I'm going to be the one doing everything in regards to take care of this garden. This is not their garden, this is yours. Understand that when doing something purposeful, you have to understand that there's going to be times when you're lonely and when you're lost. But I know that no matter where this podcast leads me, I know that no matter where I go, no matter where life takes me, I know that this is something that I was called to do. I would always say, yeah, I actually started believing it when people would tell me, Smith, you talk so much. You always talking, always running your mouth. You always just talking. You need to learn how to be quiet. God did not call me to be silent. And I understand now there's times to be quiet and there's times to speak. And I'm still learning on when those times are, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you. But I had to also understand that God gifted me this voice to use. Me. Oh, everybody, this is not their calling. They're not doing this. This is something that I was called to do. Whether it's helping one person or only me. I was called to do this. And I'm going to take this role and I'm going to do it the best way I know how, in the realest way. And I want to say thank you for all the support. Oh, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the likes, the shares. I'm thankful for, and this has been it has been a crazy journey. And I want to do so much with this podcast, with my channel, with me. I want to become something so universal and so diverse. I want to be doing all of that kind of stuff, you know? And I want to be used by God in so many ways. So recap this podcast episode. When creating your environment, you have to add, you have to take away. Once you get the environment that you have right now, that you want, understand that there's going to be things, there's going to be people who are going to try to affect that environment. There's going to be storms that come, and you may not be able to save that environment, that garden, and that you have to understand when it's time to move and find another place, another healthy environment to grow your mind. Everything is not going to be exactly where it was before. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to grow. You're going to have to let certain things go that you didn't want to let go. But I promise you, when you have a source, when you have something to believe in, a purpose in life, it makes it meaningful. Please do not be the person who walks around with no purpose, no motivation, no goals in life. Those are the people who are out here intentionally hurting people or unintentionally. They're just walking around angry and upset and they don't know why. Feed that pain and that purpose into something meaningful and purposeful. I promise you, it helps you, it works. It's something that has helped me. Because the person you see right now, I was not this person a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago. I'm constantly growing and evolving and changing. And that's the purpose of this podcast, In the Realest Way. God, I'm so thankful. I really, really am. Like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the highest, to the utmost power, God. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I'm thankful. I love how I say friends, honey, and I say I ain't got no friends. I'm talking about my future friends, by the way. The ones who are looking back with me and saying, Smith, you did your thing. But anyway, I want to say thanks to my friends, my future friends, my family, and the listeners of this podcast, and the viewers of this podcast. I'm so thankful. This has been an amazing experience, an amazing journey. I know that there's so much more to come out of this. And God's going to keep continuing to use me in the realest way. So thank you so much. This is In the Realest Way podcast, out.